decided that this is going to be numbers week. So a lot of videos that no one's going to care about. Some of you will care.
I'm just reading about these people commenting about how why is it that we're not promoting like Shatterpoint more and Legion and stuff, like their game that they love.
That's a good question.
Isn't
question. Yeah. So hey everybody. Today is if you've watched any videos this week, we've talked about some numbers. We talked about the boom of GW, but this little video, which I don't think we're gonna get that many views for, but we'll see. The challenge is, can we get some views for this? So we're gonna talk about our store a little bit, and specifically last year. So if you're curious, so we tabulated the numbers. 2024 came and went, and Christmas came and went, and in case people are curious, how our store is actually very unique.
Yeah, I think it's important to put the bias in front of the video,
yes,
right?
Our store is very unique, because you're going to see kind of like what I'm going to talk about, and you're going to be like, oh, that's not my, my store doesn't look like that. Every store is going to be a little different. Some things are going to stay the same.
It would be fun to do this with a couple other shops we know, and just to see how different
they would have to supply some data.
Yeah, of course.
But that's, no one wants to share that. Anyway, so this chart, which I'm going to do my best. It's okay. You don't need to know the details. This is you like pie charts?
I do, actually.
Yeah, I did this for
I'm
Chris.
very interested right away.
I even color printed it just for Chris. I'm one of the only people in the world that has a functional color printer.
Oh, yeah, that's rare.
For some reason. So essentially what this is...
Are you printing magic cards with that? Or
I should be. Essentially, this is all the different product ranges that we sell. So I know you can't see from over there, but you've got things like Necromunda, Legion Imperialis, things like that. What do you think the biggest slice is? If you said Magic GW, no. At our store, it is hobby supplies.
Yeah.
So 30% of our business is paints, brushes, masking tape, magnets,
airbrushes.
No airbrushes.
Airbrushes. You separated that
here.
Oh my gosh! Okay, you made your own category.
Airbrushes is the third biggest thing we sell here. Harder and Steenbeck airbrushes, which accounts for almost 10% of our business at this point, which is like pretty wild.
Massive, yeah.
40K eats up 18-ish, almost 18% of our total revenue, and then AOS is number 4. Surprising. Everyone's like gasp. And then board games, etc., and then a bunch of little games in here. For all of you that I know, this is the one you want to know the most. Horus Heresy at a meager 2.7%, and then just behind it at 2.1% Old World.
So the interesting thing about just my initial reaction, I'm like, wow, I was like, wow, we actually, it surprised me, like we sell so many airbrushes. Mm-hmm. We are very focused on giving people like a good entry-level experience to the airbrushing thing, so that makes sense. But the other thing to remember about Old World, and I pointed this out to Jay when we were kind of chatting about this preliminarily, is that's also the year it came out.
Yes.
So this is like a launch year for
their launch year.
So you're selling like the big.
So that basically, I would say in general, on one hand, I'm like, oh, that's pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah.
I thought it would be 0 or something, or low. Like I didn't know what to expect. To be really honest.
Right.
And the other ones that I can't believe, considering how much space we gave to these two games, Pokemon and Flesh and Blood, which is not a lot. Flesh and Blood gets 4 cubbies behind the till, and Pokemon gets a small alley here in the store, and they combine for a healthy 7 or 8% of our revenue.
Yeah.
So we need to be stocking more cards.
Apparently,
But where this chart gets extremely funny is down here. So Necromunda is this last bit here. The slices get too thin for labels. The computer is just like, I can't. Yeah. So under Necromunda we get Flesh and Blood, Flames of War, Star Wars Legion, Team Yankee, Warcry, food. So chips and pops.
Okay.
Warcrow. This one's my favorite. Card sleeves.
Card sleeves.
So card sleeves. These are the following items card sleeves beat out at the store here. The Hobbit. So Middle Earth.
Middle Earth games. Yeah.
Shatterpoint. Lorcana. Blood Bowl. White Dwarfs. And the bottom. Warhammer Underworlds.
Underworlds.
So really glad,
that's not surprising.
Really glad that game got a refresh this year. For all of you people. They gave us, we're wondering why we couldn't believe why that game isn't dead yet. Obviously, this is just our store. But,
of course.
But All of this fits in this little junk here. So
So when you add it all together, it's not nothing.
it's not nothing. It's probably like 8% or something.
I mean, it's mostly
actually
it's mostly small.
Sorry, it's 4.6%.
Yeah.
So yeah, but think of how much wall space this, or shelves and wall space this needs. So this is why a lot of this is over there. On the other,
how much is RPGs?
On the other side of the green screen.
Like D&D and stuff.
RPGs, yeah, decent. Yeah, RPGs are just below Infinity at 2.7%.
Not bad.
And RPG models is like somewhere around there. And just below MCP. Legion Imperialis, actually, surprisingly, 1.2%. So somehow. So that's one chart today of how our stores. This is another breakdown. This is just purely miniature sales versus GW. So that's Games Workshop makes up this.
That's
much.
not War Machine?
There is no War Machine on this chart yet. Yeah. So for all of you hobby store nerds who are wondering how our store or how a store sets up, or just really an illustration of the dominance of this company and its products here at the store.
And we give a lot of wall space to other games.
So of all the miniature
thing, right?
of all the miniatures we sell, 80% of it is Games Workshop games. And it reflects in the wall. If you walk in, I don't know.
I would say,
walls.
I don't. I'd have to measure it, but it's probably not 80% of the miniature space. It's probably less than that. It's probably more like 60, 65.
Maybe 60. Yeah. Maybe 60. Yeah, that whole wall is Citadel.
Yeah.
So, the next. Now this is like kind of what is it? Like of the other miniatures, like Infinity and Warcrow, we actually sell a decent. I mean, Warcrow launch. I didn't think it would be that high, but it's a decent number. Star Wars Legion, we're liquidating, along with Flames of War and Team Yankee. So those are going to disappear. So just curious what's going to fill. This is probably just going to get bigger. This blue part. It's just going to be like this next year.
Smaller companies watch on in horror.
Yeah. This is the thing, right? Yeah. And then the last chart I have for today of the Games Workshop games, how they break out. So to no surprise, 40K, AOS, and then everything else is the last kind of quarter.
AOS is 25%
of our GW
so what's Old
miniature
World?
sales. Old World is 6.3% of our miniature sales.
So about 4 to 5 times as smaller.
Yes.
4 times smaller.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Old World people. I know you really thought this was going to be a thing, but it's not.
They're going to tell us that we're just biased against it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Despite the fact we carry all the Old World products that are released.
Yeah. And Jay painted an Old World.
And I have an army, and I run.
And we run events constantly for it.
Leagues for it.
And we sell Old World to people, and we try to promote the game.
Yes.
Yeah. No, we're against it. Yeah.
Yes.
That's the reason it's failing.
Yes. That's why it's.
No, I just think it's a reminder. For a shop like us, growing that part of the pie is very difficult.
Yes.
Because there's just not enough things to sell someone, right?
Yes.
That's the trouble you get into, right?
Yeah.
Someone gets
it is leaving money on the table. Kind of back to that, we have the Empire release, and there's a sick-looking Knights Panther captain who's not in a plastic box.
Yeah.
And you're like, this would be, I'm sure, that would add a whole percentage point to that number. Because you could probably sell, maybe 10 units of that on launch day or something.
A lot of the exciting new stuff is very direct-driven website stuff, I think. Yeah, that's kind of the... So it'd be interesting, Games Workshop might have a slightly different pie chart. Their Old World might be a little bigger just because they're getting a lot of the resin figures and that sort of stuff.
I mean, if that's a micro example that maybe on their end they can extrapolate, I don't know, maybe their chart looks similar. I have no idea. But even if it's even a little similar, then they would probably be very happy with that as well. If the percentages are equitable like that, if Necromunda is only 2% or something, then they're probably we should be, if Old World shows up and does 8 to 10% in the launch year, they're probably oh, amazing. That's we're reusing. It's made up of kits we reused, and all we really had to do was make a new rule set and rebox some things.
I think that's the thing that's the trick with Old World that is particularly good is if their numbers are that high with Old World. There's more profit built into that for sure. They're not investing a ton into, dusting off some old things, right? They don't have to research and development.
The R&D is low.
Very, very low. Very, very low. Yeah. A couple, maybe one person sculpting some new resin figures.
who knows? Yeah, how much resources are allocated to that?
Yeah.
And then I think obviously some things on those charts don't surprise me at all. Like obviously how heavily, how much presence we have in the Age of Sigmar thing. I think that's where some stores are going to differ a lot. I think some stores are going to have like much bigger 40K pies or certain other, miniature games will focus. And we just, Chris and I have always had that thing where like, well, Games Workshop's the biggest player in this thing, and their number 2 game, based on like resources, releases, marketing, is that game. So why wouldn't you, even if you think the game's rubbish or
Sure.
something about it,
Yeah,
why
yeah.
wouldn't you be, like, I don't play a lot of Pokemon personally, but I'm like, oh yeah, this is like, other than Magic, the next, I should be
Yeah, absolutely.
bringing in more. And at least in the terms of our store, because there's the other thing, until you run some data, you have this like in your mind, you're like, you know if product's doing well because you have that physical, like someone came in and bought it and you remember. But sometimes things quietly sell more than you think.
That's definitely true. That's definitely true, yeah.
I feel like we're selling packs for card game stuff or board games even. Board games is a healthy amount as well. They just quietly sell because they're low effort. Like people come and they just bring it to the till and you just ring it through and they're okay, see you later. There's not a lot of like hands-on work being done like with the miniatures or whatever. So then you're like, oh, I should be selling more of this. So yeah, I don't know. What do you what now that you've seen some of that? What do you? Not that you didn't know some of this already.
Yeah, I think one of the healthy things about doing this as a business is like is what we're talking about with like shelf space is kind of like, oh, am I giving something too much space or not enough space? Oh, I'm selling more of this than I thought. How much more could I sell if I actually put a little bit of effort into it, or if I brought more variation in, or went deeper? Those sorts of questions, I guess, you start to ask yourself, right? And we like to do that every year, as sort of like a sort of just healthy sort of like, where's our business at? What kind of new things do we want to look at for the new year?
Yeah. This video is mostly probably a bit more of one of the hobby industry type of videos. So
Yeah.
some of you will love it, some of you will be like, snooze.
Boring, yeah.
But yeah, if you're ever wondering why certain things are what they're doing in different stores, or why stores are dropping items, or whatever reason they give you, maybe like that anecdotal whatever story we did about the angry store owner that dumped 40K for some reason, which I can't think of why, but or threatened to anyway. Like, yeah, maybe they made their chart and they're like, well, I just like, this could be more Magic or whatever. I don't know.
It's possible.
Based on where you are. The geography, what the competition is like, you do have to like look at all these things. At the end of the day, the hobby store, while it is like a community place, people come and they have like do their hobbies. It's like this beloved thing, and it's cheers, and there is also like real business things that have to occur, because if X or Y, if you're paying rent on something and it's not generating you money, this is another reason why Chris and I are like, the store isn't like, so to speak, free to use. If that makes it's a bit of a pay to play model. You have to, of course, yeah. Because for the same reason, I don't just unlock the door. I'm not the what do you call it? The hobby store owner or whatever.
No, we unfortunately have families, and they rely on us to generate some money. Yeah.
So. It also, the data shows, I was like, man, there is a healthy amount of things in those slivers of pie charts that are like multiple games that I'm like, do we need to keep, this is where I would ask GW, I'm like, you could probably, now that they've cast the net so wide, I think they could probably, I think there's a sort of, I think there's like sort of like a loss leader mentality with some of that stuff, where this is where they turn into a company that's like not vindictive, but like they're almost like going after other companies, or like trying to keep people in their own net, right? Yeah. And like things like Necromunda, like as much as they don't make a ton of money, one thing it does do is it definitely keeps people that have been in the hobby a long time around. The old guard around.
Yeah. It keeps them engaged, keeps them coming into the hobby store, poking their heads back in, that sort of thing. And I think that's where the power of that sort of product. You see with like Horse Heresy too, like it's not this year will probably be bigger than 2.5% or whatever it was this year, because there's probably going to be a bunch of stuff coming out for it. But if
I mean, of the simply GW products, it's like 8% of.
yeah, and that's not bad.
Yeah.
But
And there was nothing special this year for
it. It fulfills like a good, like it's a good role. It has a good role, and so does Old World.
Yeah.
And it's keeping people in the GW ecosystem, and stop them from going to look at like a historical game or Kings of War or War Machine or something like that. Like we can make you happy. We can make it work. It might not be 40K.
Yeah.
It might not be AOS.
Yeah.
We have something for you in our lineup, and we'll pay the extra money to keep you from walking away or whatever.
Yeah.
Because they know too that like people relapse,
Yes.
right?
Well, I mean, you've seen it so much.
So much.
I mean, the Old World is the fact that I'm still getting people today, a year later, that are rolling in that are like, yeah, I used to play, and they're still, it's slowed down, but I
Sure.
just still getting it, and every time that happens, they come in and they buy a battalion or they just buy the rule books in a box like to get going again.
Yep.
Chris and I looked at each other like, wow, that is revenue we had zero chance of getting unless this product was around. Like,
Yep.
it's pretty crazy how that
It's completely found money. Like
they have
it's
the nostalgia ability that frankly no other company can even sniff at, where they can just be like, sorry, except for BattleTech.
Yeah,
BattleTech
true,
is
true.
entirely predicated on that.
Very true, very true.
But no one else has stuck around long enough. War Machine would be the other one, but I am not seeing it.
They're
right
getting
now.
a little bit of it, I think. Like, albeit it's much
Maybe
smaller.
next year. Maybe
it's
next
much
year.
smaller, but
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
that's a whole another video topic. But like, they're just not ready to give people the experience I think that's demanded in 2025.
Yeah, and and then some other little standouts, games like little games like Warcrow, and some of these companies are able to get some of their games in, but it's like, can they? It's just like a little ember that's glowing. It's like it could just gone, or it could start a fire. We don't know yet. So,
Well, it'll never be a fire,
no, but it could have.
but
its
it
own
could
little,
it could just be like a burning candle in the corner
Sure.
that we're all happy is on.
Yeah.
I'm really happy they're on. I love Corvus Belli. I don't want anything bad to happen.
No. I mean, at least not here. It's still good. Still good. Still love.
good.
Still love. Still good. I don't know. Anything else to add to this boring data video?
Super boring.
Yeah.
Basically,
Ran out
not
of
even
ideas.
good garbage time. Bad garbage time.
It's like school.
It's like school.
I showed you some charts, and we got to make some notes. There will be a test later.
Oh, there's gonna be a
There'll
test.
be a test.
Yeah.
No, my favorite part was seeing that my Dragon Shield sleeves and Game Genic sleeves and snacks and pops outsell certain entire games that I sell.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, I mean, if I was
also really sad.
I'm hoping
always looking-
I'm hoping it's us that's got the Star Wars thing wrong, but I don't think it
But
is.
I look at some products and I'm like, this is so good.
It looks so good.
It looks so, like I painted a Shatterpoint team.
They're nice,
And
beautiful.
It was a blast.
Yeah.
Like I loved every second of it. But I'm just like, why? Yeah. Also, you're not going to sell enough snacks and chips and pops to keep a store going. So
No, the myth of like get people in the door. I'll sell them snacks, and
Just
that'll make them
cookies and chips and
it's not flinging O'Henry's
Jamaican
or
beef
whatever.
patties. That's not. It's not. We already charge like $3-4 a thing. It's not.
It's not enough. Yeah, no, it's definitely interesting.
Oh man, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's on the one hand, you're like,
One thing I didn't do is I need next time I need to make a chart that shows what slice of this is primer cans, like Chaos Black primer
that would be
or
an
something.
interesting one. Yeah,
Because
of
that
the
is
hobby supplies.
That is another just compared to like another giant pie, just to see because it's a significant piece. Like
I end this on like a positive note. As it's nice, at least if we can pat ourselves on the back for a second, that like the type of business we built was intentional. Mm-hmm. And the pie chart is like a good reminder that we're kind of mostly getting it right. The fact that almost half our business is hobby supplies and airbrushes. It's a very intentional.
Well, it's 40,
thing, right?
at
Like,
least 40%. It's probably more because I didn't within the hobby supplies. I think I don't know. That probably includes Citadel. I actually don't know. Citadel might be its own little, but yeah, it's close to 50%. Yeah.
It's cool. I'm
crazy.
happy to hear that. Like
Yeah.
it means that like the effort we put into running the kind of business we want to is paying off, right? So yeah, I mean that's I think to get super boring and detailed, if you're running a business, having like a check to be like is where the effort I'm putting, is that showing a result? Like am I getting what I'm putting in, or is it like am I putting it in the wrong spot? I guess, right?
No, I think you're absolutely right. I think I could also make a correlation between the slices of that pie and what is focused on at the store. Like,
Yeah.
the hobby supplies, it's a no-brainer. We have all these painted armies, and we use all the supplies, and we can talk about them. The games that have big, whether it's Heresy or, 40K could be a bigger slice if we were more into 40K, I'm sure.
Ironically, yeah.
Even just like having some armies and kind of keeping up like from a little bit of a distance, it's still like
A juggernaut.
it's such a juggernaut. And then the games that we, I have Infinity in the cabinet. I don't play a lot of Infinity personally, so it's probably, again, that slice could be, you could adjust the size of that slice by putting in a lot of like I said, we've said before, any of those like non-big 3, big 4 games, they require the local community to drive it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
You probably as a person running a business can take any of those categories if you're not putting any effort into them and probably double them.
Yep.
If you put a ton of effort into
Absolutely.
it. But I guess the question is like how much is that actually? Is that category worth doubling?
So people are wondering why the hobby supply thing is like so for us special is it is well, obviously it's consumable, so that's great. So you're always going to have people requiring to it's like it's a bit like food. You gotta come and get refill, get some more. It has like max variety, so there's even if you have one yellow, there's another one to try and another one. It works with all the other, it synergizes with everything else we sell. And you could be coming into our store and gaming in another store, and you still game and hang out there, but we have the paint and the thing that you need. So it's still...
And the expertise.
Obviously.
That's obviously the thing, yeah.
But it's interesting. I would say that was a big part of why we've made it this far, and I think we're going to continue is having one of our main pillars be this like extremely, have a very robust foundation. Like it's like, there's no controversy, there's no like volatility in that realm. It's just like, it's also not very exciting, but we find it exciting, but it kind of like, you know what I mean? Like it just doesn't go and so it's like, if you think of diversifying your offering portfolio, so to speak, it's that like boring thing, but that also keeps you from crashing to zero or whatever, so, that being said, probably impossible to sell in the secondary market. So,
yes, yeah, definitely. Yeah. Also hard to replicate. Like,
yes.
But we talked about this. If you go back to our like opening a hobby store videos, just as our last thought here, one of the things we talk about is like having a thing, like be known for something, right? And be good at something. Like I think that's the way that you build a brand over a long period of time. Well, we did it. We got through a very boring school educational video about charts and things.
Charts and things.
And we're all better for it, maybe.
Yep. Send more comments, send more ideas. Otherwise, you're going to get more of this...
Trench Crusade. I'm going to get killed if I don't say it.
Old world Trench Crusade. Hey, we had some Trench Crusade customers.
Stay tuned for next week, where we talk about them and what happened.
Can't just give it away. Yeah.
Well, thanks for watching, everyone. And if you like this video, you can check out some of our older videos. I think you'll like those too. Like and subscribe so you know when they're coming out. And if you can support us on Patreon or willing to, we really appreciate it. We're going to be doing some really fun Patreon exclusive stuff this year. Thanks, guys. Take care.
Thanks. Bye.